LDMMAC. This is your boy, the Coach Your Live on the Coach Your Show, the Coach Your Show Live. Okay, folks, so Nathan Diaz, he recently retired from MMA, and, he said he's got to go box. And a few fighters are doing this now. And you can't really blame him, because Tyron Woodley was saying that he's made more money boxing Jake Paul in 2 fights than he's made in several fights in the UFC. When Tyron Woodley left, the UFC, it seems like Tyron Woodley just been happier. I mean, just a lot happier. Like, before Tyron Woodley was, before he was retired, from MMA, it's just like a lot of his content on Instagram it was stressful. He was very, very stressful. Now, Nate Diaz, on the other hand, he's never been a guy that stresses out. I mean, Nate Diaz, to me, just appeared to not really care about the money. He just want to smoke weed. Like, this guy just want to have enough money to support his weed habit. And, okay, to each his own. That's what he do. Okay, this man is a consummate weed smoker. And I think even Nate Diaz said, yeah, I think I smoke this stuff once a day. Like, several times a day is what he said. And he's just never going to stop doing it. But he wants to box. I've never really heard Nate Diaz talking a lot about money, but I remember him saying something about that. What did he say, man? He said something about, like, the fighter pay is, BS. And Nate Diaz boxing Jake Paul would probably give him the most opportunity to, make a fast and a lot of money. A lot of money. And I've heard MMA fighters say this. But the thing of it is, though, the only thing I worry, this man pretty much, he's immune to pain. He's completely immune to pain. And, Nate Diaz is a guy, he just don't care. He don't care about what he do to his own body. Nate don't care. So, Nate Diaz going to go in there and put himself in a line of fire. He's going to, fight with severe injuries. It doesn't matter. Okay? This man can break his whole leg. He's still going to try to fight you. Okay? A guy like Nate Diaz is dangerous to an opponent, but he's probably a little bit more dangerous to himself. Guys, do y'all ever wonder about guys like Nate Diaz? Y'all ever wonder about this guy, say, in 10, 15 years? Because I've seen some MMA fighters that's been in the game for over 2 decades, and they don't look so good. They don't look so good. Matter of fact, they don't look or sound good at all. And a lot of these guys, they can have talk. A lot of these guys don't walk straight. And I tell you what, even, y'all check out Kat Zingano. Even Kat Zingano, when she doing her training at the beach, she's like, and sometimes, like, she was doing like a wrestling session at the beach. And I never forget this, She put one of her teammates in this brilliant move. I'm talking about it looked good. And then, she just stands up and then she stumbles. And then she kept doing that. And I'm like, what's wrong with Kat? Like, what the hell is she doing that for? And, it's the years of fighting these wars. Like Nate Diaz, people like Kat Zingano, people like Tony Ferguson. These people, they go in there and they take punches with their face. They don't care. They don't care about fighting in a bloody war. And they do that over and over and over again in their careers. Guys, that can't be good. Or Priscilla Cachoeira. That's their fighting style. People get mad. Now, I don't get mad at defensive fighters sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, it'd be boring. It'd be boring, but then when you look at those fighters maybe 10, 15 years from now, those fighters, they're still going to be intact. They're still going to be intact. Like, you got fighters like Valentina Shevchenko. They ain't taking no damage. Okay, Chris Cyborg, who's still coherent, can still perform at a high level because Chris Cyborg hadn't taken a lot of damage. And to be honest, Amanda Nunes hadn't taken that much damage. You have fighters who, they protect their chin at all times. They protect their brain at all times. They do it over and over and over again. Because these particular fighters, they understand, the sport that they're into. They get it. They get it. They get the lifelong consequence that it can have. Nate Diaz don't get it. Like, he really don't get it. I would love to just see an x-ray of this man's brain. There's got to be lesions and bruises all on it. It got to be. There's no way that this guy can have a healthy brain. And, you go in there and you go in to box Jake Paul. Jake Paul, who's a bigger guy. See, the problem is, in MMA, we know Nate Diaz would completely destroy a Jake Paul. We know he would. But see, in the sport of boxing, where the MMA fighter is severely crippled. An MMA fighter in boxing is crippled. They crippled because you can't sweep, you can't wrestle, you can't clinch, you can't you can't submit. Okay, you can't do any of those things. Okay, you can't sprawl. You can't change levels, not sprawl. You can't change levels. Okay, you can't do a double leg or a single leg. You can't do an Ostagar. You can't do a Taniash. You can't do any of these moves to get the fight to the ground. You can't do it. Can't do it. Guess what? You just kind of have to, use your hands. And you can tell when MMA fighters in there boxing, boy, they so badly want to take the fight to the ground. They do. Like, they'll grab the person and sling them around. They badly want to get this fight on the ground, but they can't. Nate Diaz is going to be at a huge disadvantage. And I know people saying, man, Nate Diaz, that's a bad mofo. That's a bad mofo, but he's going to be at a handicap. First of all, he's going to have a size disadvantage, okay? 2, Nate Diaz, that's not all he's been training. See, Jake Paul for 3 to 4 years, all Jake Paul been working on is boxing. So you gotta admit, like, a guy who's already an athlete, Jake Paul, he was an athlete. Okay, and people give him a hard time. Man, you got beat up by a Disney star, but he was an athlete before then. Okay, so it's not like Jake Paul is new to athletics. And you can take an athletic fighter and they can box. You can make an athletic fighter box. Now, they might not be the most technically sound boxer out there, but you can get an athletic fighter to box. You can get that. Okay, hands down. No problemo. Okay? An athletic person, you can teach them how to box. You can teach them how to throw some jabs and some feints, some hooks, uppercut. You can teach those arsenals of weapons to these athletic fighters, and they'll have some success. They'll have some. I mean, Jake Paul has some. I mean, he's not total trash. I mean, his technique ain't the best, but he's going to beat an average boxer, and he's going to beat an above-average MMA fighter with just boxing skills. He's going to beat those people. Okay, we've seen him. I mean, now, we can say Ben Askren had no boxing skills, so he beat him. Okay, we can say Tyron Woodley had somebody. He was an average, striker in MMA. Okay, knocked out Tyron Woodley. Now, the first fight, Jake Paul struggled against Woodley. Struggled hard. And Woodley damn near knocked him out. Okay? But, so Jake Paul, if a boxer with some hands get a hold of Jake Paul, they're going to annihilate this guy. But I think Nate Diaz, having a size disadvantage and also not having the time, excuse me, y'all, fanboys, allergies, not having the time to really get in there and really work his hands like Jake Paul, man, yeah. And I think the amount of damage he's going to take, because, this is Nate Diaz, okay, he's going to go, 10 rounds? How many rounds Jake Paul will go? 8, 10 rounds? He's going to go all 10 rounds in a bloody war. Y'all know what it is, okay? That brain damage, man. Well, congrats on retirement or your boxing career.